Drishtva, by observing. Nivrita asmi, I have now ceased from such activities. Viparyayam, the opposite. Translation: in this human form of life, men and women unite for the sensual pleasure of sex, but by actual experience we have observed that none of them are happy. Therefore, seeing the contrary results, I have stopped taking part in materialistic activities. Repeat after me. In this human form of life, men and women unite for the sensual pleasure of sex, but by actual experience, we have observed that none of them are happy. Therefore, seeing the contrary results, I have stopped taking part in materialistic activities. Prabhupada's purport is stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Yanmaitunadi grihamedi sukham hitucham. Men and women both seek sexual enjoyment, and when they are united by the ritualistic ceremony of marriage, they are happy for some time, but finally there is dissension, and thus there are so many cases of separation and divorce. Although every man and woman is actually eager to enjoy life through sexual unity, the result is disunity and distress. Marriage is recommended to give men and women a concession for restricted sex life, which is also recommended in Bhagavad Gita by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi. Sex life is not against the principles of religion, is Krishna. Every living entity is always eager to enjoy sex life because materialistic life consists of eating, sleeping, sex, and fear. In animal life, eating, sleeping, and sexual enjoyment and fear cannot be regulated, but for human society, the plan is that although men, like animals, must be allowed to eat, sleep, enjoy sex, and take protection from fear, they must be regulated. The Vedic plan for eating recommends that one take yagya shishta, or prasadam, food offered to Krishna. Jagya shishta shina santo uchante sarvakilbisha. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food that is offered first for sacrifice. Bhagavad Gita 3:13. In material life, one commits sinful activities, especially in eating, and because of sinful activities, one is condemned by nature's laws to accept another body, which is imposed as punishment. Sex and eating are essential, and therefore they are offered to human society under Vedic restrictions so that, according to the Vedic injunctions, people may eat, sleep, enjoy sex, be protected from fearful life, and gradually be elevated and liberated from the punishment of material existence. Thus, the Vedic injunctions for marriage offer a concession to human society, the idea being that a man and woman united in a ritualistic marriage ceremony help one another advance in spiritual life. Unfortunately, especially in this age, men and women unite for unrestricted sexual enjoyment. Thus, they are victimized, being obliged to take rebirth in the forms of animals to fulfill their animalistic propensities. The Vedic injunctions therefore warn, Nayam deho dehabhajam viloke kastan kaman arhati vidbhujam ye. One should not enjoy a sex life like hogs and eat everything, even to the limit of stool. A human being should eat prasadam offered to the deity and should enjoy a sex life according to the Vedic injunctions. He should engage himself in the business of Krishna consciousness. He should save himself from the fearful condition of material existence, and he should sleep only to recover from fatigue due to working hard. The learned Brahmin said that since everything is misused by fruitive workers, he had retired from all fruitive activities. Om Gantamanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Shri Gurave Namaha. This is a very basic verse, and this is what we see everywhere. Is definitely in the United States and all over the world, and that people are just want sex all the time, and everything is aimed at all the advertising, all so much preaching, and yeah, everything. There's so much like unlimited concentration on sex that it's just everywhere, everywhere, and yeah, but just like, but it doesn't. There's some pleasure there, but it's just like if you get your favorite kind of prasadam, like your most favorite thing, and you like for me it would be like burfi or halva or kheer, and you eat the first one or you drink the first one, and it's like really good, and then you want another one, so you take another one, and it's really good, but not as good as the first one. And if you keep eating them one after another, first of all, you can't. But if you kept eating them like 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 of them, after, before long, you just wouldn't want it anymore. It just becomes, it's your favorite thing. And you like the first one and maybe the second one, maybe the third one. But after a while, you just don't want it anymore. So somebody offers it to you, say, take it away. So the thing is, it's the same with any kind of sense gratification. There's there's some pleasure initially, but then it very quickly it becomes um, not good anymore. So if you concentrate specifically in marriage, if the marriage is centered around sex, and that's everyone thinks that these days there should be unrestricted sex in marriage, and but if you take advantage of that, then after a while it just becomes just not good anymore, and and people start fighting. The husband and wife start fighting because there's so many ways that two people who live together all the time, especially a man and woman whose mentalities are very different from each other, and one likes to do things one way and the other likes to do things another way. And then, but but there's some pleasure there, so they tolerate it. But when the pleasure is from sex is not much or is gone, then then the disagreements become more and more pronounced, and people start fighting, and so many times ends in separation and divorce. So that's and then everyone is unhappy, and there's so much disturbance, especially if there are children involved. Then everyone is unhappy, and there's so much trouble. But so the point is that, and Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, kamosmi, sex dharma virudho, bhuteshu kamosmi. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. So the whole system of human life, the whole point of being a human being is that we can regulate ourselves so for the higher purpose of of our Krishna conscious life, of going back home, back to Godhead. And then there'll be unlimited spiritual bliss and happiness in Krishna's company eternally, infinite, unlimited happiness eternally. And so, there's just to sacrifice meat eating and to sacrifice drugs and to sacrifice illicit sex is not a big deal, or gambling is not a big deal. I know we were talking yesterday in the car about how, Americans or people, definitely Americans, like early in the 60s and 70s, like just about everybody ate meat. There were some few vegetarians, much smaller percentage of people vegetarians then than now. And even now, it's not a big percentage, but it's a very small percentage. But back then, it was very rare in this country. And yeah, so everyone was eating meat, and but all the devotees gave up meat. And uh, and it- and it wasn't for health purposes. It wasn't for just and we weren't Hindus, so we weren't thinking, oh, it's better to be vegetarian because I'm a Hindu. We weren't thinking like that. We were instructed by Prabhupada and the Shastras that you give up meat eating because uh, because it's necessary to advance in Krishna consciousness, and we could very easily understand the restrictions, the four regulative principles, as they were given and explained by Prabhupada as like a necessity for advancing in Krishna consciousness. And of course, a meat eater, alcohol drinker, sex addict, anyone can advance in Krishna consciousness just by chanting Hare Krishna, coming to the temple, reading Bhagavad Gita. But it becomes much quicker. Advancement is much faster when we regulate our lives to not take do sinful activities like that. And the point of life is to be Krishna conscious, to return to our original state. And the example, of course, that Prabhupada gives is of a person who's sick, and he goes to the doctor, and the doctor gives him restrictions. You don't eat this, don't eat that, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. You're not used to doing this and that, but now do this and do that, and don't do those things. And there are restrictions that, but the patient has to follow the restrictions and the do's and the do nots in order to get well. It's as simple as that. And yeah, so me and all the other definitely American devotees and European devotees and African devotees and South American devotees, practically everyone is eating meat, and but to give it up, it was not a big deal. It's not like not really not hard to give up eating meat, especially if when you're. Many people just do it for health benefits, but for Krishna consciousness, it's not hard at all. And similarly, the other things, illicit sex, intoxication, and gambling, are not hard to give up when you see that there's a higher purpose. There's a really solid, good reason for giving these things up. And it applies to married devotees as well as brahmacharis, brahmacharinis, sannyasis, vanaprasthas. It applies to married devotees too, because they want to go back to Godhead too. Everyone wants to become purified, become a pure devotee, and please Krishna, please their spiritual master, and go back home, back to Godhead. So, yeah, uh, so we do it. And the point, we do it. And it's not that difficult. It's not hard. And, uh, and it's not hard to get up early in the morning. It's not hard to chant Hare Krishna. It's not hard to cook in the kitchen. So many people are going to work in restaurants right now, and they'll be cooking in the kitchen in their restaurants for 8 or 10 hours, with maybe a lunch break and another break. Or they'll be going into wash pots for 8 hours. And so our service in the temple is not that hard. It's not difficult. And everyone has to do some work. Anyway, the do's and the do nots are not very difficult to do. And the purpose is to please Guru and Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. So the goal is the person who's addicted to who's addicted to eating, and he eats he's gotten so fat from eating, and the doctor says, "Oh, now you have to restrict your eating, and because if you keep eating, you're so fat, you're going to get this disease and that disease, and die at a young age." And so the patient, hopefully will take it seriously and try to, not try to, but restrict his eating, because it's a problem. And the goal is so good, he'll live an extra, by material standards, the goal is so good, he'll have a healthier life, he'll be able to participate in sports or other activities, and he'll live 20 or 30 more years, and he'll have a much easier life. So if he weighs them, do I want to keep eating like a pig, or do I want to have a much, much better life? So you think, I'd rather have a much, much better life. So it's a question, it's a logical question of priorities. What's better for me? What do I want more? So, yeah, so Krishna consciousness is like that. And the point is that the main point I was getting at is that following the four regulative principles, like Prabhupada said, he said, I thought when I came to America and I said, give up meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling, he said, I thought they would tell me, go home. And of course, so many people didn't take those things and don't take those restrictions seriously or even people who are a little bit into Krishna consciousness. But people in general, they certainly don't want to follow the regulative principles. But for those young men and women who came to Prabhupada, sometimes boys and girls, uh, I think P.R.A. Mohan's wife, I think she came to Krishna consciousness when I don't know, 14 or 15, 16 maybe, a kid, something like that. And by the time she was 17, she was living in the temple. So oftentimes, not oftentimes, but uh, a good number of times, the people that came to Krishna consciousness and are coming today are young kids, are just kids. But to give up, whether it's young or in their 20s or 30s or older. Mother Isha was a great devotee here in Boston, first in New York. She joined there in like 1974 or something. And I think she came to Krishna consciousness when she was like 40 or 50 years old. And she was a professional tennis player when she was young. And yeah, but to give up to when you get Krishna's mercy, you get the touch of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, then it's not difficult to follow the regulative principles. It's just, it's not difficult. There's that statement in Chaitanya Charitamrita that for one who remembers Lord Chaitanya, difficult things become very easy. And for one who forgets Lord Chaitanya, even easy things become very difficult. So what seems to the materialist like a very difficult thing, to the devotee, it's not hard. It's not hard. It's not hard because we know the purpose, and we've gotten a touch of Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet, and we've gotten a touch of all the great souls, our spiritual master, and in disciplic succession. So to follow the regulative principles is not hard. And yeah, so the point is in married life, the whole point is the purport of most of the purport, half the purport is about married life. So, and Prabhupada says here, uh, uh, oh yeah, he says that thus the Vedic injunctions for marriage offer a concession to human society, the idea being that a man and woman united in a ritualistic marriage ceremony should help one another advance in spiritual life. It's one of the, and even in material life, it's generally understood that when you're married, you have to work together and help each other. They take it to just work together to make money and to have kids and raise a family and have a house, take care of the house. Those are their, and to live like help each other in that way. And of course, devotees do those things too. Help each husband and wife help each other in all those ways. But the main way we help each other, the overriding important way, is that husband and wife help each other and help the kids, is to help each other go to the temple, help each other chant their rounds, help each other to do their devotional service, to read the Bhagavad Gita, and help each other to go back home, back to Godhead. And that's from the beginning to the end, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what we're working together in the temple as brahmacharis or renounced, or in marriage as husband and wife. That's what we're all doing. We're working together to help each other, help ourselves go back home, back to Godhead. And whatever other things may come, whatever arguments are there, whatever there are disagreements between devotees, but those have to be either patched up and reconciled, or if the two devotees can't reconcile an argument, they have to at least leave one another alone and not provoke each other or get into it more. That's the bottom line. But in most cases, disagreements or tension between devotees can be rectified by working together in Krishna consciousness. So so the devotees in the temple, and that applies to married life too. Husband and wife don't have to, they'll have disagreements, they'll have arguments, but they don't have to maintain it. They have, especially if you're married, it's really important to reconcile whatever arguments there are. But all devotees, the overriding purpose of, of being together is to work harmoniously together in Krishna consciousness and go back home, back to Godhead. So that's what we do, and that's what we have to concentrate on. This part of a verse Prabhupada quotes very frequently from Bharata Maharaj. Nayam deho dehabhajam niloke kastan kaman arhati vidbhujamye. One should not enjoy sex life like hogs and eat everything like hogs, even to the limit of stool. A human being should eat prasadam offered to the deity and should enjoy sex life according to the Vedic injunctions. And one point on when there's just arguments between devotees. I heard this one class a long time ago, and the devotee, all the devotees in the temple, in coming out of material life, everyone's got stuff in their heads, like weird stuff, like pride and envy and lust and greed. Everybody got stuff in their heads and they'll look at the other devotees and they'll say, "Oh, he did that, and I don't like that. And she said that, and I don't like that." So, but the point this devotee made that makes a lot of sense is if somebody says something to you that you find hard to take, or does something that you find hard to take, the first thing is don't retaliate. The natural propensity of the conditioned soul is as soon as somebody says something to you, you'll. Pierre told us a story yesterday. He was distributing books somewhere. I forget where, but he was distributing books, I think in a store. The devotees used to go into the malls and go into the different stores and approach people in the aisles until they got kicked out. It's called getting popped. When you get kicked out, it's called getting popped. I got popped. Anyway, he was in this one store distributing book, and he got one guy a book, and this guy was like a muscle man. He said, Fiore said he wasn't that big, but he was like big, and so he distributed him a book. Must have got a donation, and then a little bit later, the man came back to him and he said, "I thought you said you were a Christian," and he grabbed him around his chest, and Pierre's arms were pinned to his sides, and this guy is like really strong. He just picked him up, and Pierre couldn't move, and he said, "I thought you said you were a Christian." And Pierre is really quick. He said, I thought you said you were a Christian. And Jesus Christ said you should turn the other cheek." If somebody, in the Bible, Jesus says, if somebody hits you on one side of your face, you should turn the other cheek. So, in other words, don't retaliate. Just be tolerant. So the guy thought about it, and he put Pierre down. What? He said, the guy said, "I thought you said you were a Christian when you gave me this book." And Pierre said, he picked him up, and Pierre said, "I thought you said you were a Christian." And Jesus said, "You should turn the other cheek." You get it? You got it? I thought you said you were a Christian. And so the guy thought about it. He said, "Oh, I guess you're right." He put him down. Anyway, we're the tendency of the conditioned soul is to immediately retaliate. Oh, you said this, well, I'm going to say that, and you hit me, I'm going to punch you, and you did this to me, I'm going to do something worse to you. The immediate reaction of the conditioned soul is to retaliate. And so in the temple, in Krishna conscious life, devotees may behave or say something improperly, sometimes something mean or something hurtful, and the immediate response as conditioned souls is to retaliate, say something back to them. So anyway, it's just a good piece of advice if somebody says something to you or does something to you that you find hurtful. The first thing before anything else, the first thing is don't retaliate, and take some time, think about it, calm down, get away from each other. My father, when we were little kids, we'd be up early on Saturday morning watching cartoons on television downstairs, and he was upstairs in the bedroom, and it'd be like 6 o'clock in the morning, and he worked hard all week. He wanted to sleep a little late, and we'd be downstairs on the couch watching television, me and my brother and sister, and we'd be fighting with each other. And I think mostly it was my fault looking back. But anyway, we were all taking part and we were fighting with each other. And my father would yell down from upstairs. He would yell, "Hey, you kids, get away from each other." That's good advice. If you're fighting with somebody, don't retaliate and get away from each other. It's good practical advice. And it's good, and so then you can think about it. You can calm down, and you can uh, reflect on it from a Krishna conscious point of view, and you can. There's so many things, but if you retaliate, then a little thing can very quickly become a big thing, and it can be like something, it become a dispute or a painful situation that can go on for years. But if you stop it in the beginning, then there's a good chance it won't develop into a big thing. And that's important in any relationship, in married life, certainly, and in Christian temple life, definitely. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Any questions or comments? Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.